Lei ho ma, everyone. I'm Wil Yeung. Bit of a fun episode today. These are 20 random facts that you probably didn't know about me. So number 20, I was actually born in Hong Kong. I was mostly raised here in Canada. Moved here when I was about 3 years old. Absolutely love Hong Kong. I've been back twice, actually, fairly recently, and so much has changed, and there's so much to do, so much hiking, so much shopping, food. It's just an insane city. It really is the city that just doesn't stop. You have to go. Number 19, I'm actually not very good at math, unless I have a calculator. I don't know if that counts. But when I was in school in Hong Kong, this was before I was in elementary school here in Canada, we actually learned math at an accelerated pace. I think I was in like kindergarten or something. We were already learning addition and subtraction. And then when I was here in grade 2, I remember very clearly the teacher called us up to the blackboard to write out numbers, and these kids were like writing ones, from the bottom up, and twos like backwards and stuff. I was like, what is going on? So I don't know if that played a part in my math not being so great, but that is random fact number 19. Random fact number 18, I'm actually working as a professional photographer for the most part. I'm also an entrepreneur, but I actually went to university for violin. So I play violin. I was studying music to be a music teacher, so I went to teachers college as well. And I did a little bit of school teaching, I discovered that it wasn't really for me. I had so many other passions that I wanted to explore and wanted to pursue. I think it really takes a special person and personality to be a school teacher, and I applaud those who absolutely love it and absolutely just crush it. Just wasn't for me. Random fact number 17, my favorite color. Does it come in black? Random fact number 16, matcha or coffee. I absolutely love the aroma of coffee, and I do like coffee, drinking straight up. I actually really like espresso. A really good shot of espresso with a really nice crema. However, matcha over coffee for me, definitely. Number 15, favorite movies. This is a tough one. I don't have a be-all and end-all movie because I think there's just so many choices that they almost have to be split up into categories. However, favorite movie is off the top of my head. I'm really into Christopher Nolan movies lately. I think they're just really smart and an incredible way of storytelling, very captivating, very engaging. I also really like Lord of the Rings. I like those kind of fantasy, those big scale fantasy movies. Lord of the Rings was really well done. I am a huge Star Wars fan. I won't really get into it too much about the new movies, but just overall the Star Wars series and the Star Wars franchise, big Star Wars fan. And also, of course, the Terminator. Absolutely love Terminator 1, Terminator 2. The other Terminators, won't talk about that right now, but definitely Terminator, top of my list. Random fact number 14, my first dream job as a kid, wait for it, OMG, was a paleontologist. How that came about, I have no idea. I think I watched Jurassic Park, and I was really into that movie, and during that time, one of my classmates, I was in elementary school, one of my classmates, their dad works at a museum, and it was kind of like show and tell or something like that, and he brought in this raptor claw that his dad gave him or let him borrow, but it was obviously a reproduction. It wasn't a real fossil, but he brought it in. But as a kid, I was like, oh my god, how did you get this raptor claw? And I was just so over the moon excited, and I think that just really affirmed my interest, so to speak. And all I wanted to do was just dig for fossils. It was just, in fact, I went to the school playground, and we used to have a sand playground, but they revamped everything, renovated everything, and they took all the sand out, they poured in these little pebbles. and I would go underneath the slide every recess. It was so nerdy, and I would dig up all these pebbles, and some of them actually, I mean, you would actually find like quartz ones, and some of them that look almost kind of like charcoal-ish, some like jasper looking ones, and there were ones that had like little fossils, almost like little tiny leaves and tiny seashells on them, so they were probably kind of taken from like the beach area or something like that had shells that were imprinted on them. And I would just get such a blast out of getting these little fossils. It was amazing. Random fact number 13, I am actually not great at sports, and that's like any sport unless you count ping pong as one of them. But as a kid growing up, I was not very good at, say, like basketball. I couldn't do layups, or you know, I can kind of shoot, but it would be kind of really by chance. It wasn't really skill for me, and I would sprain my like thumb trying to dribble and stuff like that. I was just not very good at it. But during recess time, we would play soccer just casually, and that I was actually okay at. Now, the funny thing is, watching soccer is actually very boring for me, but watching basketball, I actually enjoy more. One of the other activities that I did growing up in school was track and field. So that was a lot more enjoyable for me because I could kind of just do my own thing, go at my own pace, and I don't know, there was more kind of a community aspect where it wasn't a competition, it wasn't a race, it was just kind of, you know, we ran around the school, and it was just fun. That was what I did. Random fact number 12, my childhood idol. I actually have a few, so Bruce Lee being one of them, Jackie Chan being another, and of course Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm a cop, you idiot! Just watching his movies growing up was kind of like, you know, he was like the hero figure, and I remember it very clearly, and it's probably one of the reasons why Terminator or Terminator 2 is one of my favorite movies. It's because growing up I had this kind of connection with that character, just like that was the hero character, and as a kid you wish that, you know, you were John Connor, that kid who had this almost kind of like a father figure who was also a machine, who was just this cool guy who, you know, always looked out for you and whatnot. So those were my childhood idols. Random fact number 11, my favorite spice in the kitchen. I would have to say, hands down, it's the mighty peppercorn. And fresh cracked pepper for me is just a must have. There's something about the aroma when you freshly crack the peppercorn. Sometimes I would actually even just eat the peppercorn itself, and I have absolutely no problem with that. It's just so incredible. Once you have fresh cracked pepper, you will never go back and just have kind of a pepper shaker that has pre-ground black pepper. Nothing wrong with that, just kind of my own personal preference. Getting down to halfway, random fact number 10. I am a married man, and I met my beautiful wife in university. She was in first year, I was in second year, and kind of random, we were both in the same class, or we took orchestra. That was one of the requirements for our degree, and we were both in that same class. But the way I kind of connected, I suppose, was that I was the kid, I was the guy that would dress up really professionally. That was just kind of my personality at the time. I would always have button-up shirts and dress pants every day. I didn't even own a pair of jeans. So one day, the dean of the school came up to me and asked me, hey, we're doing this photo shoot for promoting, like cross-promoting music and drama, I believe, for the programs, and they're looking for students that would be willing to participate in this photo shoot. So I'm like, hey, you know what? I know you asked me because I dressed really well at the time. So I'm like, why not? It'll be fun. And so I showed up to the photo shoot, and there she was, the girl that I had the crush on, and I was like, oh, this actually worked out really well. So after the shoot, it was a lot of fun, and after the shoot, I approached her and be like, hey, you know what? We both have the same violin teacher, which was through the university, and we both play violin, we're both in the same orchestra class. Hey, what's your email? Let's email, let's connect, and let's practice together, right? Practice together. So that's random fact number 10. Random fact number 9. Speaking of music, I actually listen to a lot of classical music. Because I went to school for music, so I have kind of a different appreciation or different understanding of classical music. But I actually listen to a lot of movie music and video game music, and that's sort of a little random, but I feel like movie music is kind of like the classical music. It's modern day classical music, and some of the motion picture scores from some of the modern day composers are just incredible. Hans Zimmer, so the composer for the Christopher Nolan Batman, he did Inception, and a whole bunch of other movies. Da Vinci Code was his musical score as well. Just incredible music, and for me that's kind of like modern day classical music. But in terms of music, I actually got into music because growing up I had this Super Nintendo, and I had these games that were Final Fantasy. They're like role-playing games, and back in the day, the Super Nintendo, I mean, that was a very low-end technology, but the music, Nobuo Uematsu, who was the composer, the music that he created for the Final Fantasy series just was incredible with what he had, and I think that was the inspiration that he used, this very low-tech technology that was just nowhere near what we have today, and he used it in a way where it was just so simple but so like genius, and that captivated me. I fell in love with his music, and then I started exploring other music, and then I wanted to take violin lessons. And that's kind of how my musical journey came about, was because of Final Fantasy. Random fact number 8. So growing up, for a long period of time, I was into music, but I was also into martial arts. And having Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan as kind of my childhood idols, it just kind of came natural. So begged our parents to get us into martial art lessons, and we did that for a little bit, and I was that kind of nerdy kid in the schoolyard during recess, and I'd be like, punching and practicing my kicks and trying to learn like self-defense and all this kind of stuff. I guess at the time I thought girls would be into that, but no, they definitely weren't. Random fact number 7. I absolutely love spicy food, and when I mean spicy food, I mean like real spicy food. Chili powder. And I'm not so much into a lot of the pre-packaged hot sauces that are on store shelves, because a lot of them have fillers and thickeners, and a lot of them have like a lot of vinegar content, so it's just really acidic. And for me personally, I just it just doesn't find the right balance for me, and it kind of puts off my palate, whereas I really just want to taste the spiciness. I want to taste the pepper in this hot sauce. So it's kind of like when you go to the Asian restaurants and they have that hardcore jar of chili oil that basically is just oil and chilies. So that is actually, I douse everything in chili oil if I can. Random fact number 6. When I was a kid, I actually had this extensive Star Wars action figure collection. And what I mean by collection is that I had the action figures kept in the original packaging, and I made sure before I bought them they were in perfect condition, and I would actually line them up in these cardboard boxes so that, of course, to protect them from dust. And every once in a while I would take them out and just kind of look at them. Basically, there wasn't much that you could do with them. But one day I grew up and I sold all my figures, and it was kind of a sad day. Random fact number 5. If there is only one thing that I could eat for a month straight, it would have to be the potato. Because there are so many things that you could do with the potato, and everything that you do with the potato is delicious. I could totally live off of mashed potatoes and potato fries, potato wedges, scalloped potatoes, baked potatoes. Just anything potato is amazing. One thing, potato. Random fact number 4, I actually really love playing video games. And I think it's because I grew up playing video games and I've seen the advancements in video games and what we're capable of offering now. Having my background in music and visual arts, I have this kind of deeper understanding, I feel like, of the entire process that goes into making a video game or making a movie, because there's just so much, there's a tremendous amount of work and time and expertise that goes into making a video game. You have like the music, the set kind of design in a digital space, and you have storytelling, directing, music. There's so much that goes into it. It really is kind of like a big production movie. And when I'm playing the game, I really kind of immerse myself in not just kind of a linear aspect of playing a game, but I also look at, say, the frames per second of the game and, you know, why did they design this way, or why did they tell the story this way? And there's just so many kind of, it becomes almost like an art form. It's just incredible. Random fact number 3, foods I dislike. There's actually not much because I like to experiment and try different things. I'm pretty adventurous and try different cuisines. But if there is one thing that really bothers me, is actually overcooked noodles or pasta. And once it doesn't have that kind of al dente elasticity to it, it just throws me off to the point where I just almost can't eat it anymore. And it's just not enjoyable. I don't know if you can really count that, but if there is one other thing, I would say that some people actually tell me that they saute cucumbers. And for me, it's just like, blah, I can't even imagine eating that. It just doesn't even make sense to me. So if there's one thing, sauteed cucumbers. Definitely not on my list. Random fact number 2, getting down to the wire. So I used to own a music school and I ran that for 4 years. I actually sold the business and my wife and I ended up traveling a little bit. But after we did some traveling, we wanted to do something crazy, something big. And so we actually decided to buy bicycles. And we bought these bicycles, we bought these pannier packs and stuff, and we did some research and we're like, hey, let's do a big cycling trip. And so we actually biked from Toronto to Prince Edward Island. And the stretch is about 2,000 kilometers. So it took us about a week. We planned it out and we stayed at Airbnbs and bed and breakfasts, and along the way, it was such an amazing trip. We did this for charity, and I wanted to tie that in with my photography work. And because I've always felt so privileged being a photographer, being able to kind of see and create amazing, beautiful imagery. And so I wanted to choose a charity that kind of tied into that. So we chose a charity called Seva Canada, which helps bring better accessibility to people in underdeveloped countries get cataract surgery. And my whole philosophy was that I think everyone deserves to see something beautiful or to create something beautiful. So, and you need your eyes to do that. So it was an amazing trip, met so many cool people along the way, and it was just an amazing experience. Random fact number 1. So my wife and I actually got married in Vegas. Why Vegas? I don't really know. I just really like happening cities, I guess. And there's just so much to do in Vegas. We really like to walk, so we would actually just walk up and down the strip, and just kind of, I don't know, it feels timeless when you're there. And anyway, we got married there. It was a legitimate wedding. We didn't get married by Elvis or Darth Vader. However, if we got married a second time there, probably Darth Vader would be pretty cool. But that is random fact number 1. Now I do have a bonus random fact, and that is my ultimate go-to snack is kettle potato chips. And I just like sea salt. I'm not huge into the flavors. People make fun of me about why you just like, so plain or whatever. Just like the sea salt. It's just my thing. and it is just so addictive for me. That's my ultimate go-to snack, my guilty pleasure, whatever you want to call it. And some weeks I will go a full week, maybe a bag a day. And we're talking about like the regular bags, not the snack bags you get at the gas station or something like that. It's so addictive. Sometimes I really have to actually stop myself. So those are 20 plus one bonus random facts that you probably didn't know about me. Make sure to comment below, tell me a random fact about you, and give it a big thumbs up. If you like this video, remember to subscribe because there's new episodes every week, and this way you won't miss a single episode.